Hi, we're going to do one more example of finding a volume of a solid generated by revolving a region, all right, bounded by certain parameters across the x-axis in this time. So our function is y equals sine of x. We're going to bound it by y equals 0, x equals 0, and x equals pi. Again, I've got a graphical representation. Here the black line is sine of x, and now I'm bounding it on the left hand side by 0 and on the right hand side by pi, all right, which is a little over 3, and then we're bounding the region on the bottom by the x-axis, or y equals 0. And now in this one I'm going to revolve it this way. I'm going to take this region in here, okay, if you were to color all that in, and revolve it around the x-axis. Notice that it would actually be a solid region, so I don't really have to worry about the inner radius. So I'm only got to worry about the outer radius. And going back to our formula, because it is a solid region, I know that the volume is just going to be equal to pi. Now we've got to integrate. I'll figure out what to integrate in a second, and that's just going to be our function, sine of x. Okay, and now if we go back and look, we're going to integrate from 0 to pi here. Okay. All right, but we have to square this. That's our formula. Sorry. All right, so it is actually the outer radius squared. So this is volume is equal to pi, integral 0 to pi sine squared x dx. And now I can't exactly integrate sine squared x, but I can change that based on one of our properties to 1 minus the cosine of x, of 2x, all divided by 2. And again, that's just one of our properties. All right. So if we continue down here, we get 1 over pi. I can pull this 1/2 out. Okay. So I pull out the 1/2, integrating from 0 to pi, and I'm left with 1 minus the cosine 2x dx. So integrating this, I get pi times 1 over 2. The integral of 1 is just going to be x, and the integral of minus cosine 2x, well, I need a 2, so I've got to have a 1/2 out here, is going to be minus 1/2 sine 2x. And now that has to be evaluated from pi to 0, okay? Keeping my pi and my 1/2 over here. When I plug in pi, I get pi minus 1/2 sine of 2 pi. Well, the sine of 2 pi is 0, so it's minus 0. And then when I plug in 0, I get 0 here, and then the sine of 0 is also 0. So everything's going to go away but my pi here. So I end up with pi times 1 times pi, so that's going to be pi squared divided by 2. So that would be my volume. Once again, these are easier if we don't have an inner radius to worry about, and we have a solid thing, then we don't have to subtract that out. I hope this helps. If you have other questions, let me know.